welcome to Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I am Dustin, and I am here today with members of the South Mountain Conservancy. On my far left, I have Dave Hogenauer, I have Lunacito, and I have Dennis Percher. Thank you so much for being here today.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
I have been affiliated with the Conservancy for a long time, and I'm so glad you all are able to come on tonight. But I think the first thing is that we should tell our audience what exactly is the South Mountain Conservancy.
The South Mountain Conservancy, and I'm head of the Board of Trustees, is a volunteer nonprofit organization that started in the year 2000 and has been expanding with lots of programs for residents of Essex County and really the region, hiking being a major program that Dave and Lou are involved in, but we have lots of other programs, and we help maintain as stewards. We have public engagement, and we also have advocacy, where we kind of push the county a little bit to do the things that we think are necessary.
Okay, so you mentioned some of the things that you do, and you started in the early 2000s.
Right.
Is this a large organization? Like, who is a part of the organization? Is it members of the community, or?
Well, we have a board of 7. We have then another about 5 people who are program coordinators.
Okay.
Lou is the program coordinator for hikes.
Okay.
Dave was at one point, and Dave was the coordinator also for the Chainsaw Gang. So we have all these various groups that help maintain the reservation through volunteer effort.
Okay, and it's 100% volunteer for people who
At
are...
this time, yeah, it's all volunteer, and we do have an intern that we pay for the summer to do some work in forest regeneration at the Wildflower and Forest Preserve, but really it's a volunteer organization that supplements the work of the County Parks Department, which has really, over the last 3 decades, has had diminished the number of the people to maintain the park. And it's the largest park. It's 2,110 acres.
Wow.
And so there are 50 miles of trails and lots to be done.
Okay, so you mentioned the hikes, you mentioned the Wildflower Preserve, and you also mentioned the Chain Gang.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about each of those 3 components?
For the stewardship, we basically, let's talk about the Wildflower and Forest Preserve. That's the center, a 14-acre area where we maintain native plants. We get rid of invasive plants. We have volunteer groups. We have community groups come in. And we've been doing this since 2008.
Okay.
Girl Scout troops and so forth. It's an enormous amount of work, given that the county really doesn't do anything. They did some initial investment in plants. The trail system, of which there are about 50 miles, and the hikes make use of them, is maintained by 24 people who are trail keepers.
Okay.
And they kind of monitor and do the blazing and let us know when there are problems in fallen trees. When there are fallen trees, the Chainsaw Gang is called. When there's erosion and problems, or we need for new trails, which we do on a fairly constant basis, then the trail work crew comes in, and each one of those, the trail work is monthly, the forest regeneration is monthly, and the Chainsaw Gang as needed. And in March and April of this year, with the winds that we had, we were very busy. Many trees were blown down.
Wow, okay.
So that's how we are a steward. We're also an advocate. We kind of worked against the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and their idea to have a retention basin that would have taken up 1/3 of the park when flooded and blocked the roads. We've been promoting the deer management program so that, in fact, the forest regeneration can take place. If the deer population comes down, it's a necessity every year. And we have lots of other things that we advocate for. And finally, we have public engagement. We have, it's the 5th year, we just had in the fall, a family camp out, where it's for families with young children, maybe 4 or 5 to 12. It's an overnight. It's the only camping that's allowed in the reservation, with nature programs. And 2 years ago, we won the New Jersey Recreation Association award for programming, and it gets better every year.
Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't even know that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
wonderful.
We had 39 families. This year, we had a tiny bit fewer the year before because it was raining. This year was just drizzling. We can never get it right. And then in May, we have the May Apple Trail Run. We have about 100 to 120 people doing distances of 10 to 62 miles, which is 100 kilometers. And then we have, outside of the engagement, we have a art sculpture park,
That's right.
which Tricia Zimick has been running now since, I think, 2012. And in fact, this week, they have a call for artists.
Okay.
And the sculptures, those applications are due February 1st. So,
Okay. So that's good to know.
We're quite active.
I see, and you have lots of different components. So maybe Lou and Dave, maybe you guys can tell me a little bit about the hike, because I know just until very recently, Dave, you were actually doing a lot of the programming for the hikes, and I know, Lou, you've taken over, so maybe you could both tell us a little bit about the hikes.
Let me start with how it got started.
That would be great.
Yeah. The Conservancy was founded in the year 2000, and it wasn't until 2003 that we actually started offering hikes. The idea was presented first to the president of the Conservancy. In those days, it was a woman by the name of Sidel Rabin.
Okay.
And the county exec, Joe DiFincenzo, asked her if we could do hikes, if we could offer hikes. Well, she had known that I spent my summers leading hikes at summer camps in Vermont. So she asked me if I would organize such a program. And as I said, the first time we did it was June and July of 2003. Only 6 hikes. And then we did some more starting in September, and then we didn't do any during the winter in those days. So it wasn't until the next spring, May sometime, that we started the program up again. So at first I was leading them all, basically. Once in a while, one other person might lead a special hike, but so I couldn't do it every weekend, obviously. But after a couple of years or so, Lou joined as the other main leader, and the two of us led most of them, which, again, somebody else perhaps, like the president, leading one now and again. So we were able to offer more then, at that point. And the program grew. We now have a number of people who lead.
Of which you're one.
Yes, I am.
One. That's right. And so that I was checking through some of the old schedules, and in the spring, I think it was, of 2010, or it's the summer of 2010, I can't remember which for sure, we offered 20 hikes during the season, as opposed to 6 that first year.
Wow.
So,
it's a big difference, a
that's
very big difference.
That's a growth in program, to
Yes.
say the least.
So, Lou, how did you get started? I mean, because I know you're now.
It's all his fault. It's all his fault. I've been a resident of Essex County for about 35 years, and I would go hiking in the reservation, which usually meant getting lost, wandering around the woods, finding South Orange Avenue, and then walking back to my car. And then one Saturday morning, my wife saw this little ad for a free guided hike. And I was like, ooh, I can probably not get lost for a change. Dave was the hike leader. I became a regular fixture on his hikes. I became his de facto sweeper, last person in the group. Then I got asked to become a trail keeper. Then I got asked to start leading hikes. And
By
it
Sidel.
snowballed.
By Sidel.
Sidel asked me to become a trail keeper. You're the one that you talked me into leading.
Oh.
Again, it's
I know
it's your
Sidel.
fault.
I
It's
know
your fault.
Sidel suggested that I talk to you.
Yeah, well, and then I had the coordinator position for a while. I had to hand it off back to Dave for a couple of years. Now I've come back, so I think we're just going to tag team this for like the next couple of decades.
No.
we now offer something like 55 hikes in the course of the year, and I guess this is the third year we're having winter hikes.
Yeah.
Where we used to have it only 3 seasons.
Yes.
Now we, don't stop.
Right.
So it's, people have to have good gear and really dangerous icy conditions. We probably won't have a hike, but we've done quite well, really.
Yeah, I'm always surprised at the number of people who come out during the winter. It just does not stop, So
Yeah.
that's great. That's great.
During the winter, we don't have them every weekend.
No, but and
It's a little more laid back.
right.
They're not as tight a schedule.
And you also have hikes during certain times of the year. I know, for example, like the most recent hike was the night hike.
I started that a
full-
couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and every 3 seasons I have try to tie it to a full moon, but it doesn't always work. But it has nothing to do with Halloween or anything now. But we have it so that we literally could walk at some point without headlights or flashlights
right.
and just walk through the forest, and it's kind of a neat experience. I had 12 people this past Sunday, and we've had up to 20.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting.
Well, I have to say, I was on that hike, and that was a great hike. I've never been out on the reservation at night. I don't even know if it's allowed unless you're with the hike
we
leader.
get permission. Yeah.
And I mean, for normal,
Yeah.
But it was a great hike, and I think that's one of the things that if people are interested in doing hikes, all different types of hikes, because I know there are different levels too. Like, can you explain about the different types of hikes and the lengths and things like that?
I mean, generally speaking, all of our hikes are appropriate for anyone over the age of 10.
Okay.
They can vary in time from an hour to 6 hours, from 1.5 miles to 16.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We have some specialty hikes. Occasionally we'll have a hike specifically for people with younger children.
Right.
Dave does a great rendition of the Lenape story about Turtleback Rock.
Oh, yes, I've been on that hike.
Yeah,
Yes, that's a
that-
great
that
hike.
Piece of folklore.
Yes.
Occasionally we have hikes for people with dogs.
Yes. You led that one.
I led that one. I
Yeah.
try and get a couple on the schedule each year.
Mm-hmm.
Although my own dog doesn't hike. He hikes with me. He won't hike with a group. He's antisocial.
Oh, okay.
And we have nature walks now and again.
That's right.
The history
and,
hikes.
History.
The history hike
hikes
is great, yes.
Specifically, sometimes Washington Rock, which is well known, but others concentrate more on the history of the park.
Okay.
So we have, they're not as common as the ordinary hike, but most of the hikes are about 2 hours, usually 10 to 12 or 9:30 to 11:30, 12, and are about 4 miles,
Okay.
5 miles. That's the most common.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think we're just about out of time for this segment. But when we come back, we will join you all again, and you'll tell us a little bit more about the Conservancy and also about some of the other things other than hikes that the Conservancy offers. So this is just Dustin's Kaleidoscope, and we'll be right back.
After 17 years working as a mason, Mike was laid off. I met him when he came into the library looking for help. He found a job opening, but the application was only online. Mike said he'd spent his entire life around tools, but had never used a computer. I showed him how, and he ended up applying for numerous jobs online. I saw Mike the other day. His new computer skills paid off. He's working again.
New Jersey libraries are transforming lives. Tell us your story.
Hi, and welcome back to Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I am Dustin, and I am here today with the members of the South Mountain Conservancy. And at the end of our conversation, we were talking about different hikes. But can you tell us specifically about some of the hikes that are coming up and some that you've had in the past?
Well, besides the hikes we've discussed, we've also had birding hikes
Okay.
led by a member of the New Jersey Audubon. We've had foraging hikes where people go out and selectively pick things that they can eat and not die from. And
always a
hopefully,
good
yes,
thing.
we don't want to
There
lose
was
anybody.
that one guy.
And then And then we may have a geology hike. And then this weekend, we're having the first hike where people hike down from Washington Rock, go into Milburn, have lunch, and then hike back. So it's a hike, lunch, hike combination by...
Lunch at a restaurant.
Lunch at a restaurant, yes.
That's very cool.
So Kirk Barrett's doing that. So we're very lucky to get a contingent of people who come out, 12 to 20 people, sometimes in very... Well, relatively wet weather, they'll still come out.
Right.
And, heavy rains we cancel. But so we're looking, and hundreds of people come out in the course of a year.
The great thing about the Conservancy hike program is, unlike a hiking club, you don't have to strictly produce a hike as such. You can do things that have a little variety, a lot more variety. And so people come up with ideas, like the night walk. I would have never thought of that. Mm-hmm. And we can do them. We can include them in our program.
And that's one thing we haven't mentioned, is that you mentioned that a lot of hiking groups, there is a dollar amount associated with each hike or to join the hike, and all of these hikes are free.
Are free, yeah. They just have to find out about them from our website and meet or sign up on Meetup. If people are really ongoing members of the hikes, it would be great if they become members, because we use that money to help support our trail work. And I mean, we spent $1,000 this year on chainsaws, repair of chainsaws, safety equipment, plus we have insurance. And so, it's an ongoing and expanding organization, but we need volunteers and we need people to help donate.
So if people want to become members of the Conservancy, where would they go?
They can donate through our website,
which is
somocon.org, or just Google South Mountain Conservancy.
Okay, and we'll have that up as well.
Yeah, and you can see the schedules, you can see all the upcoming events. This weekend we have trail work. We're doing work on the Endicrest Drive on the Lenape. And we've actually done, we're not only focused on the reservation, we were trying to connect the reservations, the Lenape Trail, to the rest of the Lenape Trail. So we actually worked for over a year from the Whit Bay Drive, which is the northern part of the reservation, all the way up to Route 10. And it was a difficult area, and we worked for 15 months, monthly, to create this new trail with bridges and bog bridges and so forth. And it was challenging, but now that's done, and we finished it about the middle of last year.
Okay, and I think I went on part of that trail, at least up to Route 10.
Right.
But maybe Luke, can you tell us about, if I happen to be out in the reservation and I need a map, or how would I get a map?
If you
Or
are
in a guide.
on one of our group hikes, the hike leaders typically have the map available. Can I put the plug in?
Absolutely, yes.
$7. It's a great map.
And it's new, right?
Yeah,
It's updated.
This is the newest version. All of the Conservancy trails are on here, color-coded. Points of interest are on here. A little bit of information about the park itself.
Okay.
But if you have one of these and you know how to read trail marks, which are also described in here, you can't get too lost. I can't get too lost. I haven't gotten lost in at least 6 months.
That's good to hear.
The other thing is...
it's great fun when I get lost while leading a group. Then talk about fake it till you make it.
Dave and I, and along with the graphic artist, worked on the map, but also then Dave wrote a trail guide which basically describes each of the blaze trails and a lot of the woods, almost all the woods roads, and then gives recommended hikes. And this is available on our website, or there's a list of places that are retail establishments that sell it. So that's another thing that if you really are not used to it. We've run across, and I'm sure you have, people on hikes who say, I've lived here 17 years and I've never gotten off the paved Crest Drive. Mm-hmm. Literally, I said, the person was, I've lived here all this time and I just never knew what to do besides walking back and forth on that road. And it's like, listen, there are other options.
My favorite is when you show someone Hemlock Falls, because they've come into the reservation, they've gotten to the first waterfall, which is very nice, Cobble Falls, and they don't realize that less than 300 feet away is this lovely 25-foot tall cascade with a pool at the bottom. They thought they were at
they thought that
Hemlock.
was
It's like,
the.
No, just go that way a little further.
Oh, wow.
And
We're also doing a signage system. It's 4 years in development, but it's now being implemented, which are these excerpts of the map put in small frames, 12 by 12 frames that shows distances.
Okay.
And I came in and put one in on a place a quarter mile from Hemlock Falls, where it had been written on it, Hemlock Falls, you lie, there are no falls. And so in fact, I put it there, and in the 10 minutes it took me to put in the plastic and unscrew it and put it all together, 3 groups of people came, one trying to get back to their car, and 2 other groups trying to find Hemlock Falls in the 10 minutes on a Saturday. So this is going to help a lot, along with the map. And the final thing that we're doing, and it's based on the map, it's being programmed right now by Bob Arlene, is an app that will go right now just for Android phones, which you push a button, it will show you exactly on the map where you are, and if you're planning a route, you can trace your finger over the trails, and it will give you the distance.
Oh, wow. That'll be great.
So that'll be neat. So that should come out in the middle of November.
Of this year.
Of this year. I'm beta testing it right now, and it's working
okay.
very well.
Okay.
It's going to be on Google Play, and eventually I'll have to find a programmer that works with Apple phones. So.
Okay, good, because I have an Apple phone, so that would be great. I know one other thing I did not want to forget is I know, Dave, you are actually currently writing a book. Is that correct?
A history of the reservation.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, I've been working on it for years. But it keeps getting postponed somehow. But I'm really eager to push it now because I'm getting along in years and I want to make sure I finish the project. But starting about 2005, I read a centennial history of the park. And in the centennial history of the park, I figured I could go to some of the places they mentioned there as part of a walk and say something from it's only 10 pages, that pamphlet, 10 mimeograph pages.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that, but then I started reading some other material about the park, and I read some more, and I just jot down a few notes on little cards that I carry with me when I led those hikes. And then it got to be more and more and more. And eventually I decided it was worth having a book made of it. Yeah.
Well, prior to that, you were giving lectures on the history at different locations for the Conservancy.
Sometimes, yeah.
You know,
That happened after a few years,
right.
anyway, of leading the walks. And yeah, I did one at Milburn Public Library, if I recall, at the Milburn Historical Society. At the Maplewood, it's not called the Maplewood Historical Society, the Rand Hedden House.
Oh,
in
yes,
Maplewood.
okay, and yes.
And so I did give some talks with the slide presentation, as I call it still, I'm old-fashioned. And so the book is composed of 2 parts. Part 1 is the straightforward history.
Okay.
Starts with the founding, or before the founding of the park, who came up with the ideas first, back in 1893 and that period in there. The park was founded in 1895. And then it comes down to the present. And that's where most of my work has been done. Because what was in the centennial pamphlet was mostly just the founding of the park, the very early years. So I had to find out about the Depression years and the Second World War and time since the Second World War in order to make it a complete history story. And then the second part is about the park today. So there's one chapter which is a trail guide. It's basically that, but it's going to be part of this bigger book as well. And then there's a part which is a list of the main features of the park with a description of them in each case. And the third chapter is, I'm going to draw a blank on my own book. There is something, a third chapter too.
We'll buy it and
I
then
leave them wanting more.
exactly.
So there is but that's more, present day situation
Okay.
of the park. Although the last chapter of the history is kind of the last 20 years anyway.
Okay. Well, it sounds interesting. And it'll. I assume that it'll be available through the Conservancy at some point.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll probably
They're going to
donate.
be the publishers, in a sense. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll
okay.
fund that, and we'll give it to the local libraries so that people have it and so forth. So it should be quite nice.
It should be a great
And
book.
if you're a higher level membership donor, you'll get one. Look at that. I mean, if you become a member for $25, you get a map.
Right.
If you're a higher level, you get a guide, and this will be even a higher level. One
I
other.
hadn't heard that idea.
Yeah.
News to you, too,
Well,
huh?
it's got pictures. It's got an enormous amount of information. It's amazing the amount of energy and planning that went into this. I mean, and you read the history. It's remarkable. And Dave's done a great job looking at primary sources and going back into the records and the budgets and so forth. One thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't talk about, which is we're calling citizen science. Like we have a group that's Frog Watch USA, and people learn learn about different calls of different peepers and frogs, and actually monitor it because the frogs offer a mechanism to assess the overall health. And the second thing is, in June of next year, we're doing the BioBlitz.
Oh,
and we're
okay.
having experts and scientists who will come out and run 24 hours from 5 o'clock on a Saturday till 5 o'clock the next Saturday, or 3 o'clock on the Saturday to 3 o'clock the next day. And we have people evaluating the moths and other insects and birds and mammals, the plants, everything, plus programs for children and adults throughout the day. So there's a public engagement side and there's a scientific side, and that's next
fantastic.
June. We did one 10 years ago, and this will be, it'll be 11 years, but it'll be an enormous event, and the county's working with us along
that's
with the
great.
Rawway River Watershed Association.
That's
We're planning it
wonderful.
now. It's a lot of work.
And yeah, and so when you say it's a lot of work, is it just like you and the 6 other members, or are you reaching out to other people in the community? Or
I'm working with the Rawway River. I'm working with the county. We're working with some other groups. I'm the only person Laura Laborde is on, who runs the family camp out, Kirk Barrett. So other people are involved from the Conservancy, but we have to reach out for experts from, colleges, from the forest and fish and wildlife. I mean, a whole host of experts
okay,
to staff this. So we have these experts, and then we have involved amateurs, and then we have other people who can just help.
wow,
It's going to be a big thing, and it's next June 22nd, I think.
okay. I saw that you had your hand.
I'm like that fourth level, like I can count flowers.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear
As long as
that.
there aren't more than 10 of them.
Oh, well, you know what? I know we're very close to wrapping up. Can you all tell us how people can find out more about the Conservancy, like the website, and also where people can sign up for hikes?
Well, you don't have to sign up for a hike.
Ah,
That's the
okay.
easy- That's the easy thing.
Important thing.
Okay, I'm glad you said that.
Just find out from the website or in the kiosks, the information kiosks in the park. We have a printed copy of
Okay.
the schedule, and they're available also at Milburn Public Library and Maplewood Public Library and some other places. So that's the important thing about the hikes.
All right, great. So if people want to learn more, they'll go to somocon.org and they'll find out about the hikes, more about the Conservancy and everything. And I want to thank you all so much for coming on. I've been waiting for a couple of years now for you to get everybody here, so this is great. So thank you so much.
Thanks for the
Thanks
invitation.
for having us.
Great to be here.
Well, I'm Dustin. That was Dustin's Kaleidoscope, and I will see you next time. Bye.